That's too bad. I'll give you as much money as you want, poor thing. Isn't the president his wife? I am Allison. I've been married to my husband, John, for 2 years now. We both work and are so busy that we hardly have time to talk except on weekends. However, we get along well as a couple and go on an overseas trip with my husband once a year. When we got married, we decided to build a new house and splurged on a mansion. I'm satisfied with our current life. I have a close friend named Madison from high school, and we occasionally go out for lunch together. Madison has high ideals for men and hasn't married yet, but she strongly desires to. Especially, she seems uncompromising about high annual income, and she's always looking for such a partner. Hey, can I come over to your house next time? Currently, I'm having lunch with my best friend, Madison, after a long time. We were both busy and rarely met, communicating occasionally by phone or email, but today our schedules matched. Madison and I have been close friends since high school and have consulted each other on various matters. Looking back, both the fun times and tough times are now fond memories. I married my current husband 2 years ago, and as I got busier at work, the time I could spend with Madison decreased. My husband generally has weekends off, but due to the nature of his sales job, working on holidays isn't uncommon depending on client schedules. He's also busy with work. While I was pondering how to spend my day off alone, Madison contacted me, so we were to meet up today. Sure, my house is close to here, so how about having tea at my place after this? Really? Can I? I'd love to. After getting married, my husband and I built a house, but I usually met Madison outside, so this would be the first time to invite her over. Having decided to go to my house, we finished lunch and headed home. As soon as we arrived, Madison was astonished. Wow, it's such a mansion. Amazing. When we built the house, we thought of it as a once-in-a-lifetime purchase and didn't compromise, resulting in a house larger than an average family's. It's still newly built, so the interior is clean, and Madison seemed to like it so much. We splurged a bit when building it. It's our long-awaited house, you know. It's spacious and beautiful. Did it cost a lot? It was a big purchase, but it's our home. It cost around $660,000. $660,000. Is your husband's annual salary that high? Madison has always had high standards for men, and she often said that she couldn't compromise on annual income. I think her question came from that perspective. My husband's salary, I guess it's on the higher side for his age. I tried to answer vaguely, not giving specific numbers. I see. Now, I think that her enigmatic response at that time was a warning sign. Unaware of Madison's smirk behind me, I proceeded to prepare tea in the living room. Hey, since I'm here, I'd love to greet your husband. Can I stay tonight? With a teacup in hand, Madison asked with a smile. I saw no reason to decline, so I readily agreed. Yay! Ho, where's the restroom? Over here. I showed Madison to the restroom and waited for her in the living room. In the meantime, I sent an email to my husband letting him know that Madison was here and suggesting we have dinner together. After a while, Madison returned with a bag in her hand, and upon closer inspection, it was my bag. Huh? That's my bag. Oh, I got lost when I came out of the bathroom, so I took a little tour around your house. Then I found this. Isn't this designer's super expensive? Can I borrow it for a while, please? It wasn't far enough from the bathroom to the living room to get lost. It might have made sense she wanted to look around the house, but the bag Madison had was supposed to be in my bedroom. The thought of someone entering my bedroom without permission made me uncomfortable. However, I didn't think it was so much of a big deal, so I reluctantly agreed to lend her the bag. Okay, but make sure to give it back. It's a gift from my husband. Of course, I got it. A little later, I went to the bathroom and checked my bedroom on the way. Nothing seemed to be ransacked, but my closet appeared to have been opened, and bags and shoes were slightly scattered. I decided to give Madison a gentle warning and returned to the living room. Madison, you went into my bedroom, didn't you? It seems you also entered the closet. I'd like you to refrain from that. Looking into Madison's eyes, I thought I saw her eyebrows twitch for a moment. I guess, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Thanks. While we were having this conversation, my husband returned home. I had previously told him about Madison's visit, so perhaps out of consideration, he brought back a cake. I'm home. Welcome back. Oh, thanks for the cake. This is my friend, Madison. I told you in the email, but do you want to have dinner with us today? Nice to meet you, Madison. Allison always talks about you. Of course, let's eat together. Nice to meet you. Sorry I couldn't attend your wedding, but I'm glad to meet you now. Madison couldn't attend our wedding because she was sick, so this was the first time she met my husband. Afterward, we ate dinner together, and later we enjoyed the cake John had brought with some tea. Thanks to Madison's friendly nature, she quickly hit it off with John, and we all had a good time. About a month later, I noticed a change in my husband's behavior. He would avoid my gaze and spend more time on his smartphone. His behavior was so stereotypically suspicious that I could only view him with doubt. Our conversations decreased, and every day like that continued for a while. One day, I returned home to find a divorce application on the table. I immediately called my husband. I just got home and saw the table. What's going on? It means exactly what you think. I want a divorce. I knew something was off with you, but tell me the reason. I've fallen in love with someone else. So, you've been cheating. No, this isn't an affair. I genuinely fell in love. It might look like cheating from your perspective. It's cheating, no matter how you look at it. Does the other person know you're married? Yes, well. John hesitated. Just as I thought we should meet and discuss this face to face. Hello, Allison, it's me. I recognized the voice that replaced my husband's. Madison. Yes, it's me, Madison. I'm dating John, and I'm thinking of marrying him. The moment I heard those words, I felt as if a heavy stone had fallen onto my heart. My heart raced, and I was overwhelmed with an unbearable feeling as if something was suffocating my throat. What do you mean? Marrying John is my husband, isn't he? I fell in love with John the moment I saw him at your house. We exchanged contact information and kept in touch. And then, gradually, our relationship became that. What do you mean by that? What are you thinking? I was overwhelmed with a mixture of anger, emptiness, and sadness, unable to voice my accusations properly. I do feel bad about it, you know, but it can't be helped. We were destined to be together, and thanks to you, we met. I'm grateful for that. Even though Madison claimed to feel bad, there wasn't a hint of remorse in her voice. On the contrary, she sounded defiant. I couldn't possibly forgive this betrayal from a friend I had been close to since our student days and from my husband. You don't feel bad at all. put John on the phone. John said he doesn't want to talk anymore. Can you just submit the divorce papers soon? We need to have a proper conversation. I just won't accept this. Tell John to come home. Oh, come on, that's not happening. He's already living with me. There's nothing left to discuss, right? All you need to do is submit the divorce papers. Whether she was trying to provoke me or held a grudge against me, all I felt toward Madison's nonchalant response was distrust and frustration. Just put my husband on the phone. Despite my finely raised voice, Madison remained unfazed, mocking me with a snort. Hilarious, no matter what you say, it won't change anything. Bye now. Holding the phone that was abruptly hung up, I stood in shock for a while. The sleepless nights continued, and during that time, my husband never returned. The divorce papers placed on the living room table seemed to be waiting to be submitted. Madison, for whatever reason, kept sending me pictures of her and my husband together. Was she trying to show off their intimate relationship? The anguish was unbearable, and it began to affect my work. I decided it was time to seriously consider divorce, and consulted a lawyer. I knew a lawyer and decided to consult with him. I promptly made an appointment and explained the situation to the lawyer. He listened intently to my worn-out story, expressing sympathy. What would you like to do? The moment the lawyer posed that question, I realized my answer was ready and clear. I want a divorce, but I want them to face the consequences. That's understandable. We will demand compensation for damages. With all the evidence they've so carelessly provided, we must use it to our advantage. Yes, I'll firmly demand compensation for damages from both John and Madison, and I'll end this once and for all. Thank you for your help. Leave it to me, and while this might be unnecessary advice, please make sure you eat properly and get enough rest. Your health is important. Thank you, sir. After my conversation with the lawyer, I decided to put things in order. Time is said to be the best medicine, and I am gradually regaining my ability to look ahead. Recently, I've managed to eat properly, something I hadn't done in a while, and my sleep has also improved. The only thing I've lost is my husband. There's nothing else to lose and nothing to worry about. Having gone through this, I believe something better waits. Such farts gave me strength. Then, a few days later, Madison contacted me. Hey, are you still clinging to the past? I want you to divorce him soon. Your audacity astonishes me. What's wrong with you? I'm preparing for the divorce, so let John know. Huh, you're lying, aren't you? Do you think John is coming back to you? I know what you're clinging to. It's his income, isn't it? What? His income? Yeah, he's the CEO of a company with an annual turnover of $300 million. You hid that from me, didn't you? You knew I'd take him from you once I found out, right? John is the CEO of a company with an annual turnover of $300 million. You can't tell me you didn't know, right? That's why he could afford that luxurious house. Did John tell you that? Exactly. He told me everything. So, hurry up and get a divorce. Leave that house, will you? It's going to be mine soon anyway. It's a shame that John didn't come back. I'll give you as much financial support as you want, you poor thing. Madison said all this in a one-sided manner, and then hung up the phone. I now understood why Madison was targeting my husband, and everything made sense. This phone call from Madison completely cooled my feelings toward my husband, and I started thinking about life after divorce. From the next day on, I felt refreshed as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. in a way, it was thanks to Madison. The couple's photos she sent today just gross me out now. I've shared everything she sent with the lawyer. As I recovered, I was able to get back on track with my work, and my normal daily life finally returned. Now, all that's left is to settle things with my husband and Madison. I've sent a letter of demand on your behalf to Madison and John. Now, we just wait for their response. The response came back just a few days later. Hey, what were you thinking sending a letter of demand to my workplace? Madison was outraged, her angry voice resonating. So, you were harassing me without being prepared for the consequences. I was just sharing John's happiness with you. It's not harassment at all. No, it's definitely harassment. Oh, and from now on, please talk to my representative. Goodbye. Wait, I cut off the call right there. I could tell she was significantly shaken up, which gave me a sense of relief. Madison tried to call back immediately, but I did not answer. My husband, like Madison, tried to call, but when he realized I wasn't answering, he started complaining via email. He complained that my parents had found out about the affair because the letter of demand was sent to his parents' house, and he was being blamed. He demanded that I lie and tell them it wasn't true. His email was filled with selfish complaints, ignoring his own faults. My disdain for my husband grew even stronger. After returning home, having dinner, and taking a bath, I headed to my bedroom and felt something was off. When I opened the closet, I noticed that some of my bags and accessories were missing, especially the designer's ones. There was only one suspect that came to mind. You've got to be kidding. Did she really steal from me? I immediately informed the lawyer, who advised that pursuing the matter would require evidence. As I pondered over it, I remembered installing security cameras as a precaution when the house was built. I rarely used them, so I'd forgotten about them. When I checked one of the recordings, everything was captured clearly. I decided to review all the surveillance footage around the house. To my astonishment, I saw Madison, over several days and in my absence, sneakily stealing the designer's items. I was horrified. The thought of having been friends with such a person was not only shocking but terrifying. The next day, I took the footage to the lawyer, who was equally stunned. She's audacious in a way, brazenly stealing from someone's house. This is substantial evidence. However, this is a separate case from the divorce. It's a crime. Is that okay? Yes, please proceed thoroughly, lawyer. I responded with a smile that even I found eerily calm. Why should I hold back? She must take full responsibility for her actions. Understood. However, I recommend changing the locks to your house. I agreed with the lawyer's advice and immediately had the locks changed. I subsequently received countless calls from both John and Madison, but I ignored them all. They even showed up at my house, but without hesitation, I called the police. After that, they stopped contacting me. A few days later, the lawyer informed me that the other party wanted to negotiate a settlement. When asked about my stance, I agreed to discuss, but only in the presence of the lawyer. I didn't have the time to drag this out indefinitely and wanted to resolve the issue quickly. The lawyer coordinated a meeting, and we decided to discuss matters at his office on the appointed day. And then, the day arrived. The door to the room flung open, and Madison and John stormed in. Finally, I get to see you, you coward. Stop it, Madison. Why, she's been running away, right? Because of her, our wedding keeps getting postponed, doesn't it? Madison was furious, almost on the verge of throwing something at me just by the look on my face. John desperately tried to restrain her beside him. Seeing the two of them after so long made me wonder why I was fighting against such people, making me feel somewhat pitiful. Please calm down. If I witness any violence or abusive language, I will immediately call the police. Understood? The lawyer managed to defuse the situation for the moment, and John and Madison finally took their seats. With everyone present, the discussion officially began. Sir, you want a divorce, correct? We consent to the divorce. However, since Allison suffered from mental distress by your act, we will claim compensation for damages. Any objections? If you grant the divorce, I don't care about anything else, but once you've taken the compensation for damages, we're cutting all ties with her. Ma'am, is that acceptable? Absolutely. I have no intention of maintaining any connection either. I spoke calmly, which seemed to shake John slightly. However, I no longer cared about such things. Moving on to the compensation for damages amount. As the lawyer tried to address the compensation for damages sum, Madison interrupted him. Didn't I say any amount is fine? We have a vast amount of money after all. Ha ha ga. Madison confidently stated, folding her arms. Hearing this, the lawyer swiftly adjusted his glasses. Oh, a vast amount of money, you say? Yes. Ho ha ga, aren't you a lawyer? Haven't you done your research? Listen, John here is the CEO of a company with an annual turnover of $300 million. The compensation is pocket change for us. We'll even generously provide asset division. Ha ha ga. You're probably just getting by on your salary, aren't you? As Madison proudly chuckled while making her statement, the lawyer, upon hearing it, couldn't hold back his laughter and burst out laughing and loud. Madison's face turned sour at the sight. What's so funny? Are you mocking me? Madison, visibly shaken, addressed the lawyer, who eventually calmed down, wiping away his tears with a handkerchief. Hada, my apologies, I see now, everything makes sense. The lawyer placed his handkerchief down and looked at Madison with a smirk. The CEO is Allison, John's just an ordinary employee there. What? Madison looked puzzled at the lawyer's statement, folding her arms and scoffing. The fool hires a foolish lawyer. Try seeing the reality for once. Did Allison lie to you saying she was the CEO? How pitiful. Actually, that would be you. Are you certain about what you claim to be true? As the lawyer turned toward John, he looked pale. Seeing this, Madison grew anxious and started interrogating her husband. Wait, you did say you're the CEO of a company with a $300 million turnover, right? You weren't lying, right? John didn't respond. He just hung his head, looking more and more pale. Madison too started to turn pale at his reaction. Answer me, you weren't lying, right? You said you're the CEO of a company with a $300 million turnover. Answer me. Madison shook John by the shoulders, to which he finally muttered a single word. Sorry. John's apology drove Madison into despair. Madison, trembling, turned toward us and slammed the table as she stood up. You've got to be kidding me. There's no way you're the CEO. I've been the closest to you, so there's no way I wouldn't know. Madison, taking her eyes off her downcast husband, stands up and confronts me, so I decide to reveal the truth. Just because we're best friends doesn't mean I tell you everything, especially about my annual income. And because I was so close to you, I knew how greedy you were about money. That's why I never intended to tell you." I looked straight into Madison's eyes without averting my gaze. Madison, unable to hide her shock, slumped down into her seat. "Then, that house is. Of course, it's registered under my name. So the one who should leave is John. Well, he's no longer my husband." At that statement, Madison fell silent. "In that case, we will be claiming a reasonable amount of compensation for damages." Not sure if Madison and John heard the lawyer's words, but both of them remained silent. "Next, about the theft." The lawyer continued calmly, watching the two of them. His brisk way of talking soothed my heart. Upon hearing the word theft, both finally lifted their heads. "Theft. Yes, you entered the house while Allison was away and stole several designers' items, didn't you?" Confronted with the theft, Madison bit her lower lip. John seemed to be unaware of this matter, and he looked surprised. "Wait, what's this about theft? It wasn't me. I don't know anything about it." Madison appeared to feign ignorance, but the lawyer then presented photos from the evidence footage. The two were at a loss for words upon seeing them. "What's this?" It's footage from the surveillance camera." Surveillance camera. It seems Madison hadn't heard about the surveillance camera from her husband. Well, if she had known, she probably wouldn't have brazenly committed the theft. John covered his face with his hands and let out a sigh. "We have a surveillance camera. We installed it for security because we turned the house into a mansion." "Why didn't you tell me sooner? I never thought you'd break in, and you stole my keys too, right? I thought I had just lost them. But I wanted those designers' items. You wouldn't buy them for me." And so, the two started quarreling. Both the lawyer and I let out exasperated sighs. "Please save your arguments for later." Continuing, "We plan to report this theft to the police, that's all." Upon hearing the word police, Madison began to visibly panic. "Calling the police is an overreaction. I just borrowed from a friend, right? You're not really going to file a report, are you? I never said you could borrow, and I don't consider you a friend anymore. I'm definitely reporting it. After all, it was stolen. Please, I'll compensate, just don't call the police." You'll compensate. The total designer's items you stole are worth over 4 digits. Are you sure? And there's also compensation for damages for the emotional distress. Upon hearing this, Madison seemed to think she could be absolved from her crime, and turned to her husband. "Hey, even if you're not a CEO, you're still working, right? You can pay, right?" At Madison's words, John just hung his head in silence. He's not capable of paying. After all, he kept being absent without taking leaves, and got fired. "What? I told you he works at my company, right? Since he started having an affair with you, I've received reports that he's been missing work without notice. Why would I keep such an employee? No way, but there's property division. If I have that, you can't rely on that property division." "Why not? Savings accumulated during our marriage should be part of the property division, right? Are you really a lawyer if you don't even know that? On the contrary, didn't you hear anything from John? He said he told you everything, yet you seem to have missed the crucial part. How convenient for you." The lawyer then promptly presented a document. As a prenuptial agreement, both parties have agreed not to seek property division if the marriage duration is less than 3 years. As you've been married for only 2 years, this agreement applies. Madison grabbed the document, crumpling it in her hands, trembling violently. "What's this piece of paper supposed to mean? That's a notarized document. It has legal force, but remember, just because there's no property division, it doesn't mean John's assets are gone. Hearing this, Madison's face contorted into a forced smile. Well, if that's the case, it's fine. John, you have savings, right? So we're okay, right? Madison's face, now full of desperation, was unrecognizable from the friend I once knew. There's none left. You kept spending it. There are no savings. Madison sank to the floor upon hearing her husband's words. Despite seeing her in such a state, I couldn't feel any sympathy. She had brought this upon herself. That concludes our discussion. Please promptly submit the divorce papers, and John, please gather your belongings and leave the house. Goodbye. It was unclear if Madison and John heard the lawyer's statement, but the lawyer and I left the room, leaving the two of them collapsed on the floor. I later returned home, leaving the proceedings to the lawyer. The divorce was finalized without any hitches. With the lawyer present, my ex-husband packed his belongings and left. I received a few desperate messages from him afterward, but I completely blocked him. I cut all ties with both my ex-husband and Madison. My ex-husband, having lost his job and savings, seemed to have moved into Madison's house. However, Madison, after being interrogated for theft, also lost her job. The two of them desperately searched for work, but all they could find were day-wage part-time jobs. Although they received their wages daily, Madison, not being good at saving, couldn't stop her extravagant spending, and ended up defaulting on rent, which eventually led to their eviction. Their families learned about their situation, and both were disowned. Unable to return to their parents' homes, they continue to work part-time, pay compensation, and now live in a run-down apartment without a bath and with a shared toilet. An old classmate lives in their neighborhood and occasionally spots them at a nearby public bathhouse. I heard they both look unrecognizable, with worn-out clothes and disheveled hair. As for me, my career is going well, and I've taken up tennis as a new hobby by joining a community club. I enjoy staying active and investing in self-improvement. About 6 months after the incident, I went on a solo trip abroad where I met a wonderful man. We're currently dating. Although I can't easily forget about what happened, thinking that this past led to my current self makes me believe that I made the right choice. It might be the reason I feel so happy now.